Hey, what's happening? Welcome back to Logical Republican. Somebody shot me a note yesterday. Says, "Well, what the hell are you hiding from? Why are you wearing a Biden mask?" Well, I've got a number of different masks of different familiar politicians on both sides of the aisle. But the reality is that where I live, if you're on the wrong side of a thought, you'll get your window broken, you'll get ostracized, you'll get fired from your job, your coworkers will hate you, your car window will get broken, your kids will get bullied in school, the teachers will hate your kids. To say that it's a super majority of wackos is kind of an understatement. So by actually doing this publicly, it would be career suicide, social suicide, whatever you want to call it. And I really am not in the mood to do that at this point in time in my life. I don't have FU money where I can just kind of walk away, and I'm not at that FU point in my life where I can just throw up my hands and, what's the old rap song? Wave your hands in the air like you just don't care. I can't do that. So, if I want to get my point across and my opinion across to people that are hopefully open-minded to other things than whatever the narrative is, then here we are. So anyways, the point of my talk today is loosely based on the Trump verdict yesterday. Now, I did not really watch any of the trial. I watched highlights, I read captions, I read narratives, I read stuff on kind of on both sides. Right now, the liberals are doing a victory lap, and it's kind of interesting, the whole dynamic of the justice system, the prosecution, the defense, the judges, the courts, everything, right? Now, I wasn't in the courtroom. I didn't watch the whole thing. It seems like kind of a sham to me on the outside, but let me just talk from personal experience, and hopefully you can relate if you've ever been on jury duty. And this really kind of soured everything that I think of when I think of American justice, because I don't think there is a whole lot of quote unquote justice. It's me against you, you against me, or us against them, them against us. That's really what it is. The district attorney's office and the prosecuting attorney, all they care about is a guilty verdict, a guilty admission, pleading guilty, a plea bargain, a sentence. All they care about, they don't care if the person is innocent or guilty. All they care about is a conviction rate. Now, the first time I was on jury duty, I was in college. This was actually in the city and county of San Francisco. And it was a trial where I went through the whole process. I got on the jury, and they're asking the questions of how do you feel about, do you have anything against African immigrants? Do you have anything against immigrants from India? Do you have any ill thoughts about the Tenderloin district in San Francisco? That sort of thing, right? So they're just basically trying to find people who were unbiased, I guess. So the trial was it was assault with a deadly weapon. And okay, so the story was the guy who was accused was an African immigrant, and he was living in a glorified flop house in the Tenderloin district in San Francisco, which is kind of it's not Skid Row, but it's pretty close. It's where all the drug dealers are, and the homeless people, and the people who can't afford like a real apartment, people that just got paroled from prison, and then you've got the people running the place. And in this case, it was a guy named Patel. Now, in California, Patel and hotel/motel are basically synonymous, where people with the last name Patel run a vast majority of motels in California. So anyways, this guy was charged with assault with a deadly weapon for allegedly striking this guy over the head with this wooden stick. And the prosecution made it sound like this guy was vicious and he was vengeful, and he went out and he tracked this guy down, stalked him, and then attacked him, brutally beating him with this wooden stick. And the victim was traumatized and injured and blah, 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 blah. Oh my God, this guy, this African immigrant should be deported. He's the worst person on planet Earth. How could he do that to this family man? And so on. So the defense came out and said, well, this guy had been, giving the African immigrant a hard time, and he had threatened him, and whatever. So we go into the jury room, and then we get together. And keep in mind, most people are freaking idiots, right? They'll just sit there and they'll go along with whatever the prosecution says, because, somebody wouldn't be arrested if they weren't guilty, right? Well, anyways, we actually had a smart foreman, and he requested to see the actual assault weapon. So it was brought into us, and we passed it around, and it was essentially balsa wood. Now, if you know what balsa wood is, it's basically light as a feather. And we were hitting each other in the jury deliberation room over the head with this balsa wood stick. And it was like getting hit by a band of feathers. There's no way that this thing could have done damage. It is not a deadly weapon. It is nothing. We had the common sense to acquit this guy. But the point being is that the prosecution, all they cared about was convictions, right? They just wanted to put this guy in jail for 5 years for assault and put another notch in their belt. Their conviction rate goes up. They get a better job with a public or with a private firm, whatever it is. We were smart enough to see this, and the guy was set free. Just absolute BS. Second time I was on jury duty, it was a drunk driver case. Now, this person wrapped her car around a light pole, and her defense was that she had amnesia and she couldn't account for the hours in between a party and when she wound up in the holding tank. And the defense, now again, don't get me wrong here. The defense, I'm 100% behind defense attorneys, because most prosecutors are scum. Now, to say that most defense attorneys aren't scum as well, okay, maybe they are. But in this case, it was funny because it was that they had her at like 0.16, which is like double the legal rate for being drunk. They had her wrapped around a light pole, and they couldn't account for the hours in between she allegedly left this party and when she was arrested. So there was amnesia, and there was all of this other stuff, and I think she was convicted, or the jury came to a conclusion in about 15 minutes. But it's in this case, I don't know why she just didn't plead guilty, because everything was stacked against her. The amnesia thing was a farce. And again, all this did was, if you aren't smart enough to see the hocus pocus and the BS that goes on in a courtroom and on both sides, it is literally like Republicans and Democrats. I would much rather elect a French poodle than elect your candidate that is actually going to do some good. I would much rather convict your ass, even though I know you're not guilty, and send you to state prison for 5 years, rather than let you walk out of here free and ruin my conviction rate. It is just an absolute farce, our justice system. Now, is there a better justice system anywhere else in the world? I don't know. I haven't been in a courtroom in another country, and this very well might be the best that it gets. But being the best that it gets is still pretty pathetic when it's all about winning. And it's not the Super Bowl. It's not a sporting event. It's people's life. But at the end of the day, guilty. That's all I care about. Convict you, guilty, hallelujah, and let's do a victory lap. And that's kind of what happened in New York, in my humble opinion. And the fact that there is very little justice, I guess, I don't even know what the right word or how I would describe it would be, in a courtroom is really sad. And the fact that it becomes the gospel, and again, the left and all of the networks and all of the prognosticators, all of these people, they're all doing their told you, see, he's a crook. I can't explain what he did wrong. I can't explain the crime, but yeah, he's a crook. And it's just kind of a sad state of where we are in our society, that we can have this happen in this day and age of people getting charged, people getting convicted of honestly just silly crimes, when there are people out there that are actually doing real harm that the government and the police and the detectives and the judicial system have no interest in chasing down, because it's just too much work. Anyways, I'm done with my rant today. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, like what you hear, please click the like button. Please click the subscribe button, and we will hopefully see you tomorrow. See ya.